Hey, what's going on, cash flow hackers? It's Chris with Life 180. Welcome back to the Premier Agent Program training modules. Here we are talking about how to have these conversations and really connect with people and differentiate yourself in the market. I just feel like one of the biggest things when we're getting into these topics is when we're talking to clients, it's important if we need to differentiate ourselves from other agents, from other advisors. We need to have different types of conversations. We have to have more meaningful, more personal, more impactful conversations. And we gotta be willing to step out into the world of boldness and challenge them. Nothing really positive happens in meekness. We got to believe so much in what we have the ability to do to connect and help people, and just step out in boldness, knowing that we have this obligation to help people. And if you don't help them, well, that's on you. That's only something you're going to have to live with if something ends up going wrong in their life and you knew you could have done something to help make a positive change on that result, right? And so that is what it is. Now, last video, I got into the financial efficiency conversation and finding money people are losing unknowingly and or unnecessarily. Depending on the conversation that I'm having with people and how I meet them and so on and so forth, this is another thing. Everybody gets asked, what do you do for a living? Everybody has a different answer. My answer changes based on where I am. But I do think, and I think this is one of the areas I have a hard time personally coaching agents because of the fact that I've gotten so good at just identifying different conversations and handling on a one-off basis. I, at times, forget how when I first got into the business, I just mastered this one track of being a financial efficiency coach. That's what I did. And when we break whole life insurance down to its core, it is a financial efficiency tool. That is what it is. And if you can wrap your head around just thinking about whole life insurance as a financial efficiency tool, not an infinite banking policy, not a banking alternative, but a financial efficiency tool to help people solve different problems in their life, what's going to happen is it's going to open your sphere of people that you're able to connect with and positively impact. That's going to be it. Now, in the spirit of last video, remember, it's the 4 levels of awareness, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to bring people from this unconsciously incompetent state to the consciously incompetent, meaning they don't know what they don't know, and we're trying to bring them to a state of where they go, holy crap, how come I didn't know this? I still don't understand a lot about it, but at least I know it's a problem now, so I know I need to address it. They can no longer be the ostrich burying its head in the sand. They can no longer be blissfully ignorant about their own problems, which is what a lot of people do. And this is where I always say, people, you can only put 100% of effort into something that you believe with 100% certainty you have a chance of being successful with. That is just human psychology. That is the way our subconscious minds and brains and spirits work. And so with this, what we're trying to do is we're trying to stoke that flame of discontent, get them uncomfortable, get them to realize that they have a problem. And then you realize, like, hey, if that's the case and they realize they have a problem, well, if you are the one who kind of made them aware of it, it's only normal that they're going to lean on you to help solve that problem, right? That is a big thing to think about. Now, that said, here's the deal. One of the things that I would do, and I'm going to just share what used to work for me a lot, and I'm not saying I do this all the time anymore, but this was just so powerful in my business. Once upon a time, I used to go back through there all these conversations, probably back in like 2012, 13, 14. That was the time where I was really doing this successfully. People would ask me what I do, and I would say I'm a financial efficiency coach. I help people find money they're losing unknowingly and or unnecessarily, and I help them reposition that money to improve their own financial futures. And they go, well, and if you think about that, because if I were to say, oh, I'm a life insurance agent, or I do cash flow hacking, or I do infinite banking, it becomes much more challenging for a lot of people, and it's a little bit more narrow. And so the audience that you're after is a bit more narrow. However, if you say you're a financial efficiency coach, well, now, what does that mean? That means we can go into the conversations that we just had, or it means that we can have the conversation I'm about to tell you. And they go, well, how do you do that? Well, and then we could sit and I can ask questions. Once again, I never say what I do or how I do it. What I would do is I would answer it with a question. When they go, how do you do that? I would say, well, are you currently saving for retirement? And they would say yes or no. And if they say no, well, then we could ask why not? And obviously it goes a much deeper conversation. And it is what it is. And if they say yes, well, then it gets into the conversation of like, all right, well, how confident on a scale of 1 to 10 do you feel like what you're doing is working, is going to get you where you want to go? And they're going to tell you a number on a scale of 1 to 10. And then if they say a 5, then you could say, well, why did you say a 5? What is it in your life that made you give me a 5? Because that's really not a very confident number. And rather than telling them their baby's ugly and that they're doing a terrible job, let them self-identify to you. Let them open up to you and instill trust in this conversation. And this is the cool part. Remember, the speed of trust. You don't exude trust and build trust with them by blasting them with all the information and all your expertise and all your knowledge. That's sales. That's going to actually, ironically, it's going to melt the trust. It's going to eviscerate the trust. You're not going to have it. It's not going to build it because they're going to feel like you're selling them something. But if you go at it the way that I'm talking about right now, what you're going to do is you're going to build trust, because you build trust through asking questions, because by asking these questions, it shows expertise, it shows savvy, it shows that you have a depth of confidence to even go into these conversations, and it shows that you care, right? And so those are the things that build trust. And so by going to this, say, okay, you gave a 5. Why do you give a 5? They could say an 8. They could say a 10. Why did you do that, right? Why that number? The lower the number on that question, obviously, the more we get into the educational part, and the lower the number there, I would probably lean back on all right, let's talk about financial inefficiency, right? Like if you have a low number, what if I could help you find money you're losing unknowingly and or unnecessarily, and reposition that to recapture and help create your financial goals and reach your financial goals and objectives? And that they're going to say yes, right? Like, yeah, that'd be a no-brainer. They want to do that. If I could help you get there with no extra money, just by flowing your money differently through your life and thinking about things differently and being more intentional about the way that you're going about your expenditures, on a scale of 1 to 10, how interested in that would you be? Once again, I'm asking permission, right? You notice that? This is all a languaging thing. And they're going to say, well, yeah, I mean a 10 because they want it. They know they have a problem. They just told me they're a 5. So they told me they have a problem. And so they're going to say a 10. Now, if they do that, then I go through the last video that I just went through, where I go through the financial inefficiency and I show them how we can find that money. If they say they're an 8 or a 9 or a 10, then we ask why, and they tell us. And what's going to happen, anybody that says 8, 9, 10, something like that, then they're going to be confident. That means they really feel like they're doing a good thing. They feel like they're doing everything they need. They're on the right path. Barring a catastrophe that's out of their control, they're going to reach their financial goals. That's their goal. Anything from a 7 and under, I always say, well, why is it a 7 and under? Because that's not it. What you just told me is that you basically think you have a 30% or greater chance of not reaching your goals. So would you say that's accurate? And see what they say, right? We want to constantly be asking questions, because if our job and our goal is to align people's money with their values and beliefs to help them reach their goals and objectives, that means we got to be asking questions. We can't guide people to align their money with their values and beliefs until we understand who they are. We got to get to know them. We got to get to know where they are, what their goals and objectives are, what their values and beliefs are, and we got to figure out and ask the questions just to get to know them on a deeper level, so we can actually have those deeper level conversations. That's it. Too many people try to take these shortcuts and get right to the thick of things way too fast. You got to build that trust first. And so now, if somebody says I'm an 8 to a 10 on I feel like I'm doing everything right, on a scale of 1 to 10, well, then you can say, all right, that's amazing. Let me ask you a question. And so now I go through what I call the 4 questions. And in the first question, I would say is like, all right, let me ask you a question if you don't mind. And they say, okay, that's fine. Doing what you're currently doing now, if you're an 8 to a 10 and you're really confident, doing what you're currently doing, do you know what rate of return your investments need to earn every single year with no losing years to be able to retire when you want and guarantee your standard of living for the rest of your life, and being able to retire when you want? Do you know what rate of return that you need to earn every single year doing what you're currently doing? they're going to say no to that. I've asked this to over 1,000 people in my life. Nobody's ever said, actually one person said yes. And that guy was like an IBM engineer, crazy man. Didn't end up working together, but because he was just that guy. But literally 1 in 1,000 plus people have ever known the answer to that question. So when you look at it through that lens, okay, they're going to say no, period. Okay. And so when we go from that, so number one is what rate of return. Number two, so now if they don't have the answer to that, then I ask number two and I say, all right, if you don't know the rate of return that you need to earn, it's fair to say that we don't know where you're going to get. And they're going to say, okay, that's fair. And then I could say, all right, let's assume that the rate of return isn't enough. If that rate of return, doing what you're currently doing, what you're getting isn't enough and you don't know, and we got to project it out, and you haven't taken into consideration the impact of things like inflation and the time value of money and stuff of this nature, if you haven't taken that into account, well, then we got to make sure that we are. Otherwise, the numbers are not going to be in alignment, right? So if that doesn't line up, the next question is, how much more do you need to save? And this could be annually. And so here's the deal. If they don't know what rate, I got news for you. If they don't know what rate of return, they're not going to know the answers to any of these other questions. They're just not. But what you're doing, once again, is you're just trying to get them from level 1 to level 2 on the 4 levels of awareness. We're not trying to sell them right now. We're just trying to get them to realize that they actually have a problem, but I don't want to tell them they have a problem. I'm asking them questions to get them to feel like they have a problem. That's the big difference, right? Because, and I'm not trying to do this from a manipulative perspective. I'm trying to do this through the lens of, I know they have a problem almost always. And if that's the case, how can I get them to actually feel and self-identify that they have a problem? Because nobody wants to be told their baby's ugly, right? Nobody wants to be told they're screwing up. I feel like everybody does the best they can with the information that they have, and they're unconsciously aware, right? They don't know what they don't know. So it's not our job to tell them that they're screwing up. It's our job to make them realize, oh crap, I'm screwing up. I didn't have this information, but now that I have this new information, I can make a better decision and do the best I can from here forward. That's the psychology behind what we're doing, right? And so now what we do is we go and we say, all right, how much more do you need to save? And they're going to be like, I don't know, right? I have no idea. Okay, so let's just say you get to the place where you don't know what the rate of return you're going to earn isn't enough. How much more money you need to save? Let's say, hypothetically, you're not able to save that much money. Do you know how much longer you're going to have to live, or you're going to have to work? I.e., if the goal was retire at 65, are you going to have to now work until 75? Is that what's going to have to happen here? And so what we have to do is we have to say, how much longer are you going to have to work if these things don't work out? And they're going to say, I don't know. I don't have the answer to those questions. And then if we say, all right, if that's the case, well, we can go to number 4 and we say, all right, well, let's face it. Sometimes we get to 65 years old here. And this is the reality. Is it fair to say that our health wanes? This is the age when people start to have health challenges, and sometimes our bodies break down. A lot of people working in the nursing industry or kind of physical labor worlds, they can't keep working past 65. Their body gives out on them. Police officers, firefighters, elevator workers, electricians, tradesmen, tradeswomen of all sorts, right? The nurses, like these are people that they probably don't have a plan, and the reality is their bodies are going to break down. They're not going to be able to work. And so having that conversation with them saying, hey, there's a chance you're going to hit 65 years old, that you're not going to be ready, that you're not going to be able to work. I know it's great that you could say, oh, I'll just work longer. And a lot of people say that that's going to be the solution to financial challenges if they don't have the money they need for retirement. They're going to just work longer. But the reality is sometimes you're just not able to work longer. So what does that look like? And so what we have to say is like, all right, if you got to 65 years old, your target age, and you weren't able to keep working because your body broke down, is how much will you need to reduce your standard of living? Your standard of living. Nobody wants to go backwards. That's the reality. Nobody wants to go backwards. And this is the challenge. And so most people will say to these questions, if they don't know what rate of return they need to earn, they don't know how much money they're going to have to save, they don't even know if they can save that much more money to get to their financial goals, they don't know how much longer they're going to have to work, they've never thought about how inflation, time value of money, all these things go into the equation of how much money they're going to need in the future to maintain their standard of living on a guaranteed basis for the rest of their life. They've never thought about that. I promise you. 99% of the time, 99.9% of the time, they've never thought about that. So the idea of going and saying, hey, listen, at 65, if all these things don't work out, how much you're going to have to reduce your standard of living? And they're going to be like, I have no idea. This is a lot overwhelming to me. And if you could then say, hey, if you could give me 20 minutes, I could give you the answer to all those numbers that, hey, at worst case scenario, you're going to have clarity on where you are, where you want to go, and what the gap is and what you need to do. This is what I do. I help people operate more efficiently to reach their financial goals with less risk. And if you feel like it's something you want to continue the conversation on, we can absolutely continue that conversation. But if you just want to take the information and go on your way, you absolutely can. But in my experience, what I find is people wind up wanting to utilize some of our services to be able to help them reach their goals. If that's something you're open to, I'd love to take 20 to 30 minutes and walk you through and give you the answer to those 4 questions. That right there is how that process is the process that I did. It was over a decade ago that I was doing this all the time now, where this was the predominant way that I made all my money in these conversations. I just mastered this talk track. And I'm telling you, if you're newer in the business and you don't have a lot of success, if you've never sold $100,000 a year in income or more, if you've never earned 6 figures in this business, this, in my opinion, is the way to go, because you could serve everybody. You don't have to niche down your target so much, but you're able to speak to people in a way that is in complete alignment. And what happens is you're going to run into different scenarios, different people with different needs. And so you slowly get to build off of build your expertise and build your experience working in different channels. And so I don't know, that for me, this is the way to go. If you have any questions about it, absolutely leave comment in the group, reach out. We're here to help you. We have resources available for you. We would love to be of value and of service to you. That is it for now. Till next time, have a blessed, inspirational day. We'll talk soon. See ya.